In the last video, I suggested that one could have a look at the staff as almost being in a certain key. So that when you have a staff like this, it really, in a way, in a sense, is as if it is in C major already, because it's got these semitones built into it between E and F and between B and C. Now, as I was saying that, it's only half true, so one has to take that with a pinch of salt, because there's a further complication when it comes to keys. There's not only keys, which are the groups of notes with semitones in certain places put in a certain way. So let's make a concrete example of this. Let's say we have C major over here. We have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Now, as we've spoken about in previous videos, the fact that this is C major is because you have these semitones over there, and that's what makes it C major. So if you were to keep the same pattern of tones and semitones and to move this up over here, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, now you're keeping the same pattern of tones and semitones, but you've just moved it to a different level. So that's the one way that one can move from one place to another. But there's another added complication to this, because when we write out the notes like this in the scale, when we say C major, we're immediately kind of implying that there's a certain note in this pattern which is more important, which is the C. And so when we say C major, we're not only talking about the pattern of notes, but we're also talking about the fact that the pattern starts and ends on a C. Now, this may seem a little bit obscure, but the theme of this video is minors. And in order to understand how a minor comes about, one just has to understand that there's also different modes that each major scale has. So to understand what a mode is, let's just say that instead of saying C major, we're going to call this C Ionian. So what we're going to say is that when you have this staff, that's a C major staff, and you're writing all kinds of notes on here, and you tend to go towards the C. I'm not going to try and sing this, but you can try on a keyboard or whatever instrument you play. You can try and just fiddle around with this. With only the notes of C major, so there's no sharps and no flats, you tend towards ending on a C and starting on a C. C is the more important note. Then we're talking about C major, but it's not just C major, it's also C Ionian. And we'll get to these names, but they're not terribly important to know in modern theory, except for things like jazz theory. Sometimes one does use these names, but it's just a matter of interest. But let's say instead of starting and ending on a C, we were to start and end on a D. Then the whole structure of this would change, because you'd start with the same pattern of notes, but now instead of going tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone, you would go tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone, tone. And so the whole relative structure would change, but in a way that keeps the same gaps between the semitones. And so then we would have D Dorian. And similarly, if we were to focus on the E, okay, well now we have to do something like that, we would get E Phrygian. And if we were to do it on F, we would get Lydian, And if we were to do it on G, we would get mixolydian. And if we were to do it on A, we would get aeolian. And B, we would get Locrian. And again, if we get back to C, it would be back to Ionian. Now, these names have an interesting history. In ancient Greece, there were modes. It isn't entirely sure that they were exactly like this. They may have been related somehow distantly, but these are very modern names. And you had in the Middle Ages, you also had modes which had the same names, but it was a slightly more complicated and involved system. So even this is already a pared down version of the original. But basically that's if you have C major and you start and end on C, it's the Ionian mode. Ionian, which is the Ionian Peninsula, is Greece. All of these other places are places either in Greece or in Turkey, most of them in modern Turkey. So the Dorians were a tribe somewhere in what's now Turkey, and so were the rest as well. These are the basic modes. Now the one we're going to focus on for talking about minor is the Aeolian mode. Interestingly enough, for some composers like Handel, for example, they would use the Dorian mode as the minor, but that's very unusual. It's very peculiar. So usually the Aeolian mode of the major scale is the minor. So let's just have a look at this quickly. So what we're going to do is we're just going to write out the major scale, and each major scale has a relative minor scale, and that minor scale corresponds to the Aeolian mode. So if we are on C major, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So if we were to do the sixth mode, would be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, going up there. So because the staff is a C major staff, the pattern of tones and semitones will be the same. So between B and C, you'll have the semitone, and between E and F, you'll have the semitone. But now we're starting and ending on the A. And so we have our minor mode. Now, that's the basic gist of it. And so each note, the sixth mode, if you go the first mode, D is the second, E is the third, F is the fourth, G is the fifth, A would be the sixth. So each key, if we go back to our circle of fifths here, each key, do we go C, G, D, A, E, B, somewhere over here, F sharp, C sharp, and F, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, C flat. So each key has an associated minor. So for C it will be A. Obviously for C sharp will be A sharp. And for C flat, similarly, it will be A flat. So if you move up, the sixth mode of G major will be G, A, B, C, D, E. So E minor. And we can do the same thing for G flat major, it will be E flat minor. Where's another G here? Can't find one now. Okay, so if we move on up, for D, you can work it out, it comes out to B. And so for D flat major, that will be B flat minor. For A, it will be C sharp. For A, it will be F sharp, sorry. And so for A flat, it will be F. For E, it will be C sharp. And for E flat, it will be C. So C minor has the same key signature as E flat major. For B major, it was A flat. So for B flat, oh, wait a minute, we made a mistake here, sorry. For B major, it will be G sharp. So for B flat, it'll be a G. That can get confusing, but that D sharp and E flat goes together, those two go together, and then the last one that we have is F. So you can work these out. Again, as with the keys, it's just a case of you just have to study them. But you can also practice working them out. Now, the safest way to work it out is just to count up the sixth note of that key. But sometimes you get given, for example, you get given D minor. Now, if you don't know that D minor is the relative minor of F major, it can be difficult to figure out precisely how to get back. So usually the way that, especially pianists learn to do it this way, it's not theoretically accurate in a kind of strange kind of way, but it does the job, and it's the quickest way to figure out the accidentals each time. So if you have your C over here, what you're going to do is you're going to count 3 semitones down each time. So 1 semitone, 2 semitones, 3 semitones. So that gets you to A. Let's say you start at, so our problem was we got given D minor, and we want to know what the relative major is. We go 1 semitone, 2 semitone, 3 semitones, and we get F. So the basic way to remember this is that if you want to go from the major, which da 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 is happy, to the minor, di da 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 is sad. So to get from happy to sad, you have to go down. And to get from sad to happy, you have to go up. So that's one way to remember it. So that's the basic thing. There's one more complication that comes in, or one more group of complications that comes in when you're dealing with minor keys, and that is the whole harmonic melodic issue. Now, basically, when you use minor scales, when you use any mode, there's a tendency to adjust notes. Now, the reason for this is pretty obscure, and it really just has to do in the end with what sounds nice. And so it's difficult to give a definitive reason for why this is this way. It just happens to be this way. So let's pick a key. Let's go B minor. So B minor, the relative major is D major. Let's start it from down here. Here we go, B, C. Let's add the key signature as well to make life simpler. So Father Charles. So you go B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B. So you go dee da 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 da. You would change this to go dee da 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 dee da 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 da. So you would raise the seventh note. Again, the reasons for this, it's fairly obscure. It has to do with just the way that it works out, the harmony and the way that it sounds. It is really too much of an issue to really delve into here. But basically, this is the harmonic form of the minor scale. Now, because in the harmonic form, when you get dee da 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 da, that interval there isn't a very happy interval. So, in order to fix fix that, if you want to call it fixing it, what one does is you kind of alter the scale. Let me do it over here. So I'll do it in, let's say A minor. Just say a G minor, and I'll write the key signature again. So there's G minor, D da 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 da. But now D da 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 da. So that gives us a more pleasant sound. So what happened here is we have the melodic minor. Melodic. Let me write that a little bit neater. It's actually readable. Not sure if that's so much better. But anyway, melodic minor. And so in the harmonic minor, what we had is you raise the 7th note. In the melodic minor, you raise the 6th and the 7th note. Oops, and the 7th note. But that is only when you're going up. Because if you go down, da 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 da, it sounds like you're in the major. So when you're going down, there's a slightly different rule. So the melodic minor has two distinct patterns that goes with it. Let's do melodic minor going down in, well, let's make life interesting. Let's use the alto clef, and we'll do, how about we do A minor, just to make life easier. Da, sorry, is that better? Da, 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 dee, da, da. So that's A minor, and you'll notice we didn't change anything. So the melodic minor going downwards is the same as the Aeolian mode, just flat, just normal, with no changes at all. But you could also see this as lowering the 6th and the 7th note. If you were to carry on writing here without a bar line in between, you would have to flatten those two. So it's often said that the 6th and 7th are flattened coming down, where that isn't actually technically the case. You're just normalizing them again, just moving them back to the key signature. So you get ba 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 ba, and so forth. And that is basically all you have to know about minor keys.